Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Cigna Kids in the Kitchen conference call. Today's call is being recorded. And now, your hostess for today's call, Ms. Pat Soderberg. Ms. Soderberg, please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Pat Soderberg. I'm a registered dietitian with the Integrative Personal Health Team here at Cigna, and I am joined by...
Hi, good afternoon. This is Erica Webster. I am also a registered dietitian and health coach with Cigna's Integrative Personal Health Team. We are here to take some time to talk about healthy eating with you and your families and strategies to use in the kitchen during cooking. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining, and I will let Pat begin with the first slide.
Thanks, Erica. Just to review the objectives for today's conversation, one of our primary objectives is to define all the pieces of the healthy eating plate. This is a tool that a lot of us are very familiar with and used frequently by those of us that coach. We'll also spend some time identifying ways to make quick and easy meals that are kid-friendly for any culture. And we'll take some time to identify tools, offer tips, things to get kids involved in healthy meal planning and preparation. So if we start off with the plate, which many of us are familiar with, the wonderful diagram on the right side of the slide, we're just going to touch on the Dietary Guidelines for Americans. And this was recently published in 2011. The primary objectives with the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, the first one is to balance your meals. And really this means to use moderation, the consistency of your meals, variety and frequency of your meals. The second dietary guideline is to incorporate all 6 food groups throughout the day, including fruits, vegetables, grains, meat and protein, dairy, and fats and oils. The third dietary guideline is to aim for at least 3 food groups at meals. This is very closely related to the first dietary guideline, where you're able to find balance and be satisfied at your meals and afford you consistency throughout the day of your intake. The fourth dietary guideline is to eat often throughout your day, 3 meals, 2 to 3 snacks per day. This helps control portion size and hunger.
With that being said, on the next slide, Pat and I wanted to share a little bit with you on how to engage the whole family in healthy eating practices. Some of the things that we talk a lot about with our customers on coaching calls is how to make meal planning appropriate for each and every one of you, no matter what the schedule. And so we've identified a couple things here that I just want to go through and give you some food for thought to identify what maybe you haven't considered or what might be that next step for you to make meal planning even better for you and your household. So number one, ask yourself, are all family members a part of the meal planning? And that's a big question, depending on our schedules, depending on ages, depending on who's home when, how much storage we have. So many variables play a role in that question. So some things to think about even further in looking at that is, number one, identify family favorite meals and foods. So if you have not already identified those common meals in the household, maybe make a list of those and put them on the fridge or keep them in the kitchen for that evening that you need a quick reference. I'm not sure what to cook tonight. Where can I go to find that? Ask yourself, who does the grocery shopping? Where do you do that and how often? If you can identify your patterns with the grocery shopping, does it help you improve? Does it help you continue down that path you're currently on? Or is there a change that you need to make even further to address that? Grocery shopping is essentially that foundation of having those healthier foods in the house. So how often are you doing that? Where are you doing that? Can I get everything in one place? Do I have to go to a couple different places to get the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, the healthy protein sources, the healthy fats, etc.? Another thing to think about is how many days per week will your family be cooking at home? So depending on what the schedule is, depending on what events you have going on, think about how many meals will we have at home, and that's going to impact how often you have to go grocery shopping and for what you need to go grocery shopping for. I think one thing to recognize is it's okay if not every single meal is eaten in the house. There will be times where we might have to do a grab and go or a takeout. So discussing how you can make the healthiest choice there can be very beneficial, which kind of leads us to that next bullet point. What meals will be leftovers, eaten away from home, or takeout? If we're thinking about this ahead of time, if we know what our week looks like ahead of time, it will allow us to make less impulsive choices. So if it is going to be takeout and it happens to be pizza, what's the vegetable in addition to what's on the pizza you will have with that meal? Or for dessert, can we have some sort of fruit dish? What are the drinks? Do we have beverages at home that we can have instead of purchasing the soda with the pizza or with that takeout? Leftovers are great. Sometimes we can take a Sunday or a Monday and prepare a couple meals during that week or prepare a larger quantity, and guess what? We can have it for lunch or dinner the next day. So it's okay to incorporate those in. It can make things a little less stressful in the kitchen from day to day. The next bullet point, food for thought again, when you're looking at meal planning, are certain meals theme meals? How do we entertain ourselves in the kitchen? If we're not big chefs or we don't make a lot of time to cook, how can we make things exciting for the whole family? Do we have those family favorite meals? Is it an Italian night? Is it a Mexican night? Is it an Indian night or a vegetarian night? Identifying, that theme throughout the week might help you with that planning, might narrow your choices for the Tuesday meal. So that's something to think about as well. Another thing, are there breakfast, lunch, dinner, and or snack options available for everyone in the household? Again, if we're thinking about all those varieties, does it help us create that grocery list to make our job at the grocery store faster or more efficient? And lastly, decide who does what. Ask the family members what to help out with, no matter how big or small the task. The more involved everybody is, the more we appreciate the outcome. Whether it's good or bad, depending on the recipe or the experiment, everybody has a role, and there's value to be had in that situation. So whether it's picking out the meal, picking out the recipe, whether it's picking out that piece of fruit or that vegetable at the grocery store, whether it's the preparation work for that recipe back in the kitchen. Maybe it's putting the groceries away. Who's making the list? Who's doing cleanup? All of those things are things to think about when you're looking at that whole process of integrating in healthier foods more often. I do have to say thanks to the individuals that responded on the Cigna homepage to the promotion for Kids in the Kitchen. There were some great responses as far as what people are doing already to make their meals healthier and to get the family involved. Somebody had mentioned, hey, if the kids are involved, guess what? There can be a math lesson in looking at those recipes or identifying the serving sizes of things. Any of the preparation, the trinkets, the gadgets to help cut up or slice up the fruits, the vegetables, the meat, whatever it may be, those are things that kids can have fun with, maybe make their job easier, and engage them in the process of learning about healthy choices. So thanks to those that did share their comments. Those were great. If we look at the next slide, Pat and I just shared here some examples, some food for thought in terms of quick and easy, mini meals, or even snacks throughout the day. And of course, we wanted to just give you a glimpse of what healthy snacks look like. What you see on this page here is you see some variations in the nutrients. So you're seeing some protein sources. You're also seeing some carbohydrate sources on each one of those snack ideas. And what we're doing is we're setting you up to feel satisfied with a meal or a snack choice to help recognize that maybe that hunger has minimized after having some nutrition put into your body because you're getting some quick fuel from the carbohydrates and then you're getting some longer lasting fuel from your protein sources. So as highlighted on the page, those bold foods are those protein sources which take longer to break down in our body, and then the other foods are the carbohydrates which are that quick energy. I think the other thing to think about in looking at this slide is posing that question either at the kitchen table one night for dinner or amongst the family at some point is to have that conversation about why we eat. What are the reasons why we eat throughout our day? Is it truly because our body's telling us we need energy? Is it truly because I am hungry? Or is it because I see food, I smell food, I hear somebody in the kitchen, somebody else is eating? Asking yourself that question. There may be times that we're tempted to eat, but physically our body doesn't need that fuel at that time. So that's something to think about when you're looking at why the whole family is eating throughout your day. Again, might further evaluate changes in the meal planning for one or the whole family. So with that, Pat's going to talk just a little bit further about some resources to help with meal planning.
This particular resource is very engaging, it's fun, it's colorful, and the resource that's mentioned on this slide for meal planning actually came from the reference at the bottom of the page. It's called Nourish Interactive, and this is just one example of an extensive set of resources that's available on this website for parents, for teachers, for anyone who does education, for pediatricians, for children. And what I'd like to do is just look at a couple of these options of examples here. So if you look at Monday, July 2nd, it gives you an idea of something to look at on a label. And some of the other items on here are things related to food sanitation. And some things are actually related to making a more competitive option, like running around with a friend. On the 26th, it talks about grabbing a friend and doing something together, making a challenge together. So this is just one example of some of the activities that are available in this particular resource. Many of these items are downloadable. They can be made available on a PDF to anyone who wants to put them on their fridge. It's just a great way to get the family involved, not only with food, but all the habits that go around with food. And these activities are something that change on a regular basis. And I believe that for this July calendar, there was two different focuses. One was about holiday food choices, and the other one on this particular example was about milk. So this is just one example, and then on the next slide, we have another opportunity to just get the whole family involved once again on just more of a learning process about food itself. The food label is a wealth of information. Sometimes we get very easily overwhelmed by the amount of information on it. But as you can see from the slide, one of the first things that we like to start with is looking at the serving size right at the top, and then take a look at the calories. If the serving size is more or less than what you're choosing from that item, all the information changes. So it's very, very good example to really look at, I've just poured myself a bowl of cereal, and then look at the box, and is this more than what the serving size is? Do I pay attention? So it's just a really good way to start with the food label. Some of the guidelines that we look at for the food label, too, is aiming for a fat content between 5 and 20% of the total daily intake, daily value, aiming for a percentage of less than 20% sodium, 10 to 20% fiber. Oftentimes, one of the suggestions that we make in a coaching situation is that we'll try and find carbohydrate sources that have at least 2 grams, really trying to push for at least 3 grams of fiber in a serving of something, especially when it comes to breakfast cereals and some of the whole grain items that we're choosing. One of the other things that we like to focus on the food label is the fewer ingredients, the better. This means this is closer to a whole food. It's less processed. It's more healthy for you. There are less unidentifiable ingredients on that item. The food label can be very fun. It's an opportunity to really take a moment with your family or anybody and grab something off the counter or that's sitting on the kitchen table and just read it. The more you pay attention to food labels, you become so much more knowledgeable about all these things. How many calories you might be getting close to consuming in a day. Have I had a lot of fat today? Gosh, how much sodium am I consuming? Do I think that I've gotten enough fiber today? So the food label is a wealth of information, and it's a great way to sit down as a family, whether you're just having a snack of something out of a box or sitting down to breakfast and there's a juice container, to just take a moment and share the information that you've learned. On the next slide, Erica will talk a little bit more about how kids can get involved.
So we shared, again, some broad concepts on how the whole family can improve their eating habits, whether it's looking at the food labels, whether it's fine-tuning that meal planning, whether it's making a list of healthy foods to always have in the house. Those are some broad concepts that we would challenge you to do with your family. Beyond that, let's break it down even further and identify what the kids can do and then what the parents can do. So if you're looking at this first slide, Pat and I really haven't touched too much on exercise, but it is so important. Looking at being active every single day, 30 to 60 minutes daily would be ideal. And just ask yourself, how often are the kids doing that at home, at school, at daycare? Are they being active every single day? Are they getting less than 2 hours of TV time or computer time? Try new fruits and veggies. Have the kids pick out a fruit or veggie in the garden or at the grocery store or at the local farmer's market and say, hey, let's try this. Have them figure out how to peel it, how to cut it, how to slice it. Engage them in that opportunity, and that's something that they can bring to the table. Make water the first choice over the empty calorie beverages, over the fruit juices, the Kool-Aids, the sodas. Is water available at school, at daycare, at home? Is that something they're choosing more often than those juices, those Kool-Aids, etc.? Doing jumping jacks during the TV break or during TV time. This is a great one. We talk about it with our adults as well. How can we move more every single day? We've heard so much about obesity in the kids as well as in adults. And so it is our challenge, each and every one of us, to be more active and pick those simple things here and there. The jogging in place, jumping jacks in place, walking in place. What can I do during those commercials or TV breaks? Help make dinner. Again, we talked about that in the meal planning. Who's doing what? Where can the kids get involved? Pouring, scooping, serving. Asking for help with any household tasks. So if they're needing, help reaching a utensil or a bowl in the kitchen, can you help them? If they're not sure how to cut or slice something, is that a teachable moment? Where can they ask for help, and encourage them to ask for help? A learning opportunity for everybody. On the next slide, what can parents do? So think about where you're at here. Where are you at in that action phase? Are there fruits and veggies present in the house, on a bowl, on the counter, versus the fruit snacks or the granola bars? Is it a quick and easy, accessible thing? Maybe they're pre-cut up in the fridge, so all you have to do is open up the lid and scoop them into a bowl. Take a walk with your family after dinner or after school or on the weekend. Get outdoors and be active as a family. Plan the menu for the week. I have heard people that are very successful sitting down on a Sunday evening and talking about what that menu will look like. So if you do it just 1 week in this next month, experiment. Does it work for our family or does it not? And then identify who will do what to make sure those meals are on the table each week. Turn off the TV during meal times and share time with the family. Does it mean you're talking about the taste, the textures, the hot, the cold of your food? Or does it mean you're talking about your day? So think about that as an opportunity to be actively engaged in conversation together versus focusing on what's on TV or what's on the radio or eating as fast as I can so I can get to the next task of the day. Limit the TV time, as we talked about. That's not only for the children, that's for us as well as adults. So think about how much TV time, how much computer time you have as a parent. Facilitate the safe walk to and from school a few times a week. If there's an opportunity to bike or walk to school and it's safe, challenge your family to do that and talk about that experience. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Again, a perfect example of doing something to start small. Can I take one flight, add up another flight? Can I get to 3 flights by the end of the month? How often can I be more active in my day? Again, the next one, walk around the block after a meal. Make a new house rule. No sitting still during TV commercials, as we talked about with the kids as well. Find time to spend together doing fun activities, family park day, swimming day, or a bike day. And I just have to talk a little bit about where these things came from. The letsmove.gov website is a simple, easy-to-read website. It's wonderful. If you're looking at further engaging your physician, your pediatrician, your community, your school, there are things there to tell you how to do that, in addition to further engaging the kids or you as a parent. There are different links to eating healthy, to getting active, taking action within your community. There's an opportunity to join that website so you can get blogs. You can identify where there's support in your area. I think I happened to look this morning, and there is an Olympic Family Day at Lake Calhoun here in Minneapolis this Saturday, and that was on that website. So I would challenge you to go and locate your area and what activities might be going on within your community on that website, a very good one. So with that being said, let's look at next slide. Pat's going to talk a little bit more about additional resources. We had so much fun looking at resources. There are so many out there. We picked what we felt are the best, and we would challenge you to go and take a look and share what you learn with others. So Pat's going to talk a little bit more about the meal planning resources.
Sometimes when we talk about meal planning, I know I usually roll my eyes in my head because it seems like such a daunting task. And Erica had made some great suggestions about whether it means sitting down on a Sunday night. And a lot of things fall to Sunday night. So sometimes we might even just have to do it in the car on the way to a soccer game. What should we have for dinner tomorrow night? Or what do you guys want to do this weekend for meals? Take any moment and be spontaneous and come up with meal ideas. It doesn't have to mean 7 days a week. It's like, let's plan 3 days this week. And a lot of these ideas come from some excellent resources. The first one there, Kids Eat Right, kidseatright.org, is an offshoot of eatright.org from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, an excellent website. There's actually some information of more focused on different cultures in that website that is excellent. Kids Live Well is another very good website. I've made reference to this website in other presentations. If you remember Healthy Dining Finder, if anyone's ever used that before, this is actually an offshoot of that, and it actually goes to that site. But once again, it focuses on healthy restaurant eating, and right within that website is actually the criteria, bullet by bullet, of what a person should be looking for when they're making those restaurant choices. And the Kids Live Well website actually has their criteria of how they're gauging whether a restaurant food choice is a healthy one or might pass that one by and go on to the next one. So these are just a couple of them. One of the other websites that we came across that's not on this list is myrecipes.com. That's an all-kid-friendly recipe website. It's very, very useful information, and it's one that if you don't have the time to go, share this information with your children, whether your children are 6 or 15. All these websites are very, very appropriate. Other resources just for helping with meal planning, taking a cooking class, all sorts of resources, whether it's a store that sells cooking supplies, community education, specialty stores. There's companies where you can actually make meals, and that might be a great family outing. Growing a garden, whether it's in a container, in a patio, backyard, getting neighbors together, finding a community effort, and it's also a great source of exercise. Using the internet, looking in the library, talking to neighbors, looking in your own cookbooks, looking in magazines. There's a real great target of meal planning resources out there. So those are just a few of them. And then what I'd like to do on the next slide is actually touch on a couple specific cookbooks and smartphone applications that we have come across. We looked at a few different ones, and the first one just had the best reviews that I had come across, the Healthy Start Kids Cookbook. And this one is an excellent resource. It targets a group of ages 6 to 10. It's step-by-step, very, very simple step-by-step instructions, and it's actually, the nutrition information is sound. A dietitian consulted with the author when writing this book. It comes highly recommended. The other book, number 2, many of you might be familiar with, and the title of this is actually Cooking Rocks, Rachel Ray 30-Minute Meals for Kids. For those of you that are kind of cookbook savvy, Rachel Ray has many different books out there, and the way she hooks kids in is she uses really catchy recipe names. So that's an excellent resource. And the last one is also kind of fun. It's Sesame Street C is for Cooking, and this is the 2012 release. There's 50 recipes in this book, and it's following the 2011 release of the Sesame Street B is for Baking. So if you are a parent with small children, this might also be an excellent option. Emeril, who is also a very well-known chef, has one that might be very popular along with the Rachel Ray book. And one more reference that is not on the slide is there's a recipe book called Kids in the Kitchen, and it's all vegetarian recipes. So that might be another resource just for that. From a smartphone point of view, we found these 3 applications. Awesome Eats, Whole Kids Foundation. This is a free download where it's really looking at packing fruit and vegetables, trying to increase that intake. There's obstacles in a field where kids are picking vegetables. It's very, very interactive. It has 32 different levels. So that one got very, very good reviews. The next 2 are both $1.99 applications, and they're both kid-friendly, family-friendly. The first one, Lala Lunchbox, is really about focusing on trying to get healthier foods into that lunchbox for specific lunch planning. And the last one, DW's Unicorn Adventure, is from PBS Kids. And if you're familiar with the Arthur cartoon, one of my favorites, on PBS, the character DW saves a lost unicorn by using a rainbow of foods. It's just priceless. Dad did a review on it and said that he enjoyed it as much as his daughter. So these are wonderful applications and resources for your family.
Super. And lastly here, let's just talk about a few more resources on how you can advocate for healthy eating within your community and advocate for that change. Again, there's a lot in the media about childhood obesity and it being a serious issue. So if you want to go beyond your family, the challenge is there. And this first website, activeschools.asap.org, is actually headed by Tufts University. They're doing research on increasing physical activity in schools. So if you want more information about how your school can get involved or if it's already involved, take a look at that website. Let's Move, we talked about that. Again, a quick and easy website initiated by Michelle Obama's push to reduce childhood obesity. A lot of good information on there in terms of taking action within your community, within your household. That third web link is for We Can, which stands for Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition. And it's primarily focused on initiatives for children ages 8 to 13. Again, goes into a lot of detail about how you can improve the nutrition, increase that physical activity, not only as a family, but within your community or within your school. And then the last one, chefsmovettoschools.org. This is part of Michelle Obama's initiative as well to improve the nutrition aspect. And you can go on there and you can identify chefs that have become a part of the school nutrition program, and they're focusing on specific nutrition criteria in that school to make choices healthier. You also can go into that website and identify if there are schools that are looking for a chef to come in and improve the school nutrition. So it's really focused on improving nutrition in schools by engaging chefs that follow a certain nutrition criteria for the meals and recipes made at that school. And then did you know, just an FYI, September is National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. This is actually the second annual year they are going to do this. So if you want to focus on reducing childhood obesity within your community, go to this website. They've got all kinds of ways that you can engage the community via the radio, a PSA, doing a newspaper article, putting something on TV, talking to political support within your area. Lots of information on there. So again, if you want to take it to the next level, the resources are out there, and this is just a quick glimpse. And then I think just in lieu of time here, I'm not going to run through all of these resources, but some additional resources, food for thought in terms of kid-friendly websites, and then as far as websites for you as adults or parents to really either begin to be that healthy role model or continue to improve being that healthy role model. With that being said, I'm going to have Pat wrap us up here, and then we'll open up the lines for questions.
Okay, good. So, and one of the things that we do on our end is we share a lot of this information with the people that we coach. We're part of the Cigna Integrative Personal Health Team. That team is a dedicated team of personal advocates, educators, advisors, behavioral clinicians, and our whole purpose is to listen to your needs and help you reach your health goals. We do it personalized, one-to-one, and we have educators who specialize in nutrition, health and wellness, smoking cessation, stress, weight management, exercise. The people that we work with are registered nurses with a wide variety of hospital experience, home care experience, clinical experience. Our behavioral clinicians have extensive counseling experience, helping people get through difficult times and crisis in their lives. Our number is listed here, 888-992-4462. And please reach out to us if you want to begin this process. We'd also like to welcome our new friends from HealthSpring. HealthSpring employees will be a part of IPHT that will be available to you beginning in January of 2013. So at this point, I think what we would like to do is open up the lines for questions and comments, and if we can do that now, that would be terrific.
While we're waiting for that first question, I'll just quickly say that one of the individuals listening in wanted to share another app that's available. So from peer-to-peer, here's another app that you may be able to access on your smartphone. It's called Fooducate. There's a scanning bar on there, and once you scan that food, you can rate. It rates the food. It kind of gives it a grade based on the nutrition in that food. So that's another smartphone app out there for you. Anything else you want to add, Pat?
No, I think it's been wonderful, and it's so exciting that people have been constantly sending us chat comments during this presentation. And as Erica had encouraged earlier, if you want to go to Cigna Central and click on the link about this, there's a lot of comments, and feel free to post your comments there as well. Thanks. Have a good afternoon.